I like to discuss topics related to infrared photography. In this video, we'll take a look at the winning images of the second annual Life in Another Light photo contest from Kolari Vision. Whether you're interested in infrared photography and want to know what's possible, or are already an infrared photographer looking for inspiration, there's a broad range of infrared styles showcased here. I've also collected links to the Instagram accounts for as many of these photographers as I could find. Be sure to check out their feeds in the description. So the first category here is the photo essay for infrared photos. And what's amazing about this category, it's one of the most impressive categories to me, because not only do you have to have a whole collection of photos that are thematically related and stylistically related, but you may want to write an article to tie it all together, almost like a magazine article. So being able to do all of that to me is very impressive. So I'm not going to dive into each of these individually. I'll leave that to you to come back and check. So we have the honorable mentions here. The winners for the photo essay will be posted in the near future, so be sure to check those out. So these are the infrared photo essay winners, and again, just one shot from each of these collections. So be sure to dive in and check all of those out. There's also a category for visible light photo essays, regular old photography, where you can come in and check out the essays that have been created here. So be sure to look at those in detail. So let's look at the stills categories. First up is aerial. So this is, of course, to get an aerial shot like this, you would have to convert a drone to infrared. This particular one is 550 nanometers. And so that's going to be infrared light plus red and orange and a little bit of yellow light. And then those create these amazing colors. So you've got this purple color, which represents the organic material in the shot, and then this yellow color as well. So this is a very striking aerial image. This shot was done with an IRchrome filter from Kolari Vision. The IRchrome filter is a dual band filter that allows you to capture a shot without having to do a channel swap or channel mixer later in post-production. And what it does is it captures a slice of light in the infrared and red light, and then it also has a second band that it captures in blue. And what this typically allows is for you to capture a blue sky. This particular image, I just find the colors absolutely striking. These soft sort of baby blues contrasted with the bright reds. It's a bit abstract, of course, as an aerial, but I think the colors are amazing. It's absolutely stunning. Here's a visible light shot of a sort of an adorable little island discovery that was found, probably from the paddle boat here in the middle, but this is a great little sort of isolated aerial shot. Honorable mentions. So this is here on the left, we have a 590 nanometer shot. So this is an infrared shot with infrared light, red light, and orange light, and the red and orange is going to be swapped and converted till we see the blue in the water, and then we'll see colors in the organic materials in the shot. So a little bit of a peek through the clouds, a glance through the clouds here. Here's a very vivid, colorful fall colors aerial shot, the invisible light. That's very nice. Down here we have a full spectrum shot. Full spectrum is a camera in which the hot mirror, which typically protects ultraviolet and infrared light from reaching your sensor, that hot mirror is removed, and full spectrum allows all of that light to reach your sensor. So near ultraviolet light, all the visible light, and near infrared light can produce some really interesting effects. So you've got these great color streaks here. And then over here on the right, we have a shot with a 665 nanometer filter. And so what this is going to do is we'll take infrared light, red light, and a little bit of the orange spectrum. Not all of the oranges, but some of the oranges. And then the result after a color swap is these very deep, rich reds. So this is a great shot, and these reflections in the water here are very beautiful. The next category is black and white. So this could be infrared or it could be visible light. So this first shot, this of the light peering through the clouds and lighting up the hilltops here is beautiful. This was shot with an 850 nanometer filter. Visible light ends at about 750 nanometers. So if you're using an 850, it's cutting off everything below that. So it's cutting off all visible light. This image is only capturing infrared light. Here's an image that I shot with a 720 nanometer filter, so that would capture a little bit of red light, but then in this case I converted it to black and white. This is a very popular tourist location, and there's lots of people going up and down this road continuously, so it took me a long time to actually find a good spot where there was no people and I could get a good shot. And a big wave of people had just passed me and was behind me from this perspective, and so I finally took my shot. And it wasn't until later, until I was making prints, that I realized that there had been a drone operator who was flying a drone up and down underneath the canopy. I actually captured the drone in the middle of the shot. It was kind of tiny, and so it was easy to get rid of, but it was a little annoying at the time. I mean, I'm not against drones or certainly anything, but of course it was kind of buzzing over all of our heads, and that was a bit obnoxious. But still, it was nice to be able to get this shot without all the people there. A nice shot of succulents in infrared, one of my personal favorite subjects. Here in honorable mentions, we have another 850. So that is 850 is very good for black and white. You're almost always going to get a black and white out of 850. So if you're shooting with 850, that's your intention right from the beginning. Here on the right, we have a visible light shot that's been converted to black and white. This is sort of an amazing subject, this vertical forest, it's called. This is really just striking the blacks and the whites here. And not to take away from this image, because this image is simply amazing. I have to wonder what it would look like with all of this organic material, what that would look like in black and white. But nonetheless, an amazing shot. Down here we have this really great, looks like maybe a long exposure, but definitely a lot of negative space that really helps this subject stand out. And then here's one of my succulent images that I'm been very happy with. I've tried to shoot this plant multiple times. It actually, I think, was damaged the season after I shot this, and I've never quite been able to get a shot as good as this one. So I was very lucky. This plant's actually about 2 feet across, and it was just an absolutely gorgeous plant. So the next category here is IRchrome, and so this is that filter that I was talking about earlier, where you get a sliver of infrared, say reds and near infrared light, and then there's another band that's allowed to pass of blues, and that allows you to capture an infrared image without having to do a color swap in post-production. And so here we have some amazing colors going on here with these reds and the magentas and the blues. It's very striking. Lovely image. Here we have another shot in the IRchrome category. I like the contrast here between the reds and the snow. I think that's really striking. And then you've got this kind of rim of reds running around the water. The water's beautiful, and then this nice light blue sky. So very kind of striking colors here. You will typically find that in infrared photography, kind of in general, that things that are abandoned or derelict or decaying, actually tend to make really good subjects for infrared, and this is no exception here. So this sunken boat in this shot. Down in the honorable mentions here on the left, we have this shot from the Cleveland Dam, where you've got this sort of nice ring of color. It's almost like a ring of fire surrounding the as we look down into the space down here below. Over on the right here, light and shadows, a shot in the Dolomites. This is it's kind of hard to see if you come here and you can zoom in and look close, but some amazing detail here, and the horizon looks really nice. So this is a very nice shot. I really like the lines in this shot. Of course, we've got great color because it's an IRchrome with the reds and the blues, but in addition to that, you've got these great lines running through the shot. This pattern drawing you with this beautiful aqua color, drawing you down the river and through this path up to the mountain. So great sort of leading lines and S-curve in this shot. And then down here, we've got a really beautiful sort of subject isolation, the light peering through and striking this structure in the middle of this lake and creating this nice shadow and stuff. This is a very nice image. Down here, we have the landscape infrared. So these are going to be landscape shots that are specific to infrared, no visible light shots. This is a 720 nanometer shot. So this would have normally captured a little bit of color, a little bit of the reds, but the subject here is so striking that I can see why just making it black and white works. Of course, you've got the lightning in this shot. You've got this downpour of rain, but really, and those are amazing, but what really helps them to stand out is the fact that the ground here looks like it's in full light, being fully lit by the sun. So you've got this great contrast between the ground, the clouds, these very dramatic clouds, and the lightning. Boy, it's simply an amazing shot. Makes you want to be a storm chaser. So another infrared landscape shot. This shot to me, boy, it almost looks like it almost looks like a render from a video game. Maybe it's the colors, the nature. That's one of the things I love about infrared is just because we can do different things with the color, it just adds this surreal look to images. So you've got just the nature of these colors to me is amazing. This is just a really beautiful shot. So this shot, not only is this a great shot, but I can only imagine the amount of work that went into trying to color all of these individual trees, because no doubt this was taken with a 590, which would have meant there was a little bit of color in all of these trees to contrast against the snow, but it would have been one uniform color across all of them. And so the amount of work that was taken here to go into each of these individual trees, carve it off into a separate layer and color it separately. So this is an amazing post-production job to create this effect. Absolutely lovely. Down here in the honorable mentions for this category, we have a shot I did of the Half Dome in Yosemite National Park, shot from Sentinel Bridge. Fortunate in a sense that I got this shot because I went to this location and it was pretty windy that day that I went. And so I decided to come back later in the day, and the wind had died down and meant that the reflection was much better. And so I was able to get a nicer reflection later in the day. So that was fortunate that I kind of came back to this location. This was shot on New Year's Eve last year, and you can actually see that there's some snow. There's a snow cap, some little bits of snow on the Half Dome, and you've got this interesting mix of the snow contrasted, the white snow contrasted with the yellow colors from the 590 nanometer filter. This shot over here on the right, this to me, I look at this shot and the first thing that I think of is there's a video game called No Man's Sky. And in this video game, the game creates it generates different planets and different styles of vegetation and different environments on these planets. And this shot looks like a shot straight out of that game because it has these alien looking trees, and of course it's got the colors from infrared. I absolutely love it. It's fantastic. Over here on the right, we've got a very nice waterfall shot, vertical shot. You've got these luscious sort of pink colors, but then they're contrasted with this subtle green hue that really helps the waterfall stand off from these pinks. And then over here, we've got the Kodak cow. So a cow here enjoying his purple grass. That makes me wonder what flavor of milk you're going to get out of this cow, but very, very nice, very nice. Down here in the next category is the landscape. So I'm not going to spend a lot of time on these, visible light shots, because I'm more into the infrared thing, but we'll take a look. But of course, these are, winners in these categories. So very amazing, very nice shots, very great composition here. Nice composition, clearly some very nice light coming into this shot. Honorable mentions in this visible light category. One thing I'd like to point out about this shot of the Golden Gate Bridge, this happened about a month ago-ish, and there was 2 days in the Bay Area because of the fires where the sky was just orange. We'd had some days earlier where the smoke was lower, and so it was basically kind of just choking us out, and you'd had to wear masks and stuff to go outside. But on this day, and the 2 days around when this was shot, the smoke was higher in the atmosphere, and so it was literally the whole sky was orange like this. I drove through San Francisco on that day, and it was just absolutely surreal. This is not even processed. It literally looked just like that, which is fascinating because you'd think, oh, that's what an infrared shot might look like. No, this was actual visible light on those days. So it was absolutely surreal to see that firsthand and to attest, yep, that is exactly what it looked like. This is not a heavily processed shot at all. So wrapping up the visible light section here. Next up, we have long exposure, and long exposure can be a combination of infrared or visible light. I'm going to zoom out a little bit here to try to catch all of this image because it's a very striking vertical image here. So this is a 720 nanometer long exposure, which would have captured a little bit of color. But in this case, this subject is so striking that making it a black and white really worked well. And okay, so a very nice visible light shot, kind of a dark, secluded part of the forest. Very nice. Here we have an IRchrome shot that is just, the colors on this are so unlike the other colors. Of course, in post-production, you can do anything you want with the colors for infrared shots or even visible light shots. These blues and the sort of red tones in this are really unlike anything that I've seen elsewhere. It's really very striking. So we've got got this nice visible light long exposure here on the left. And then here on the right, this shot is, you see very few shots like this. If you look here, this is UV and visible light. Typically what would be done is you take a full spectrum camera where you've removed that hot mirror. So now you can see UV light and you can see visible and infrared. And so we may have, this may not include any infrared light. This could be just UV and visible light. So the UV portion is going to be about 300 to 350 nanometers up to about 400 nanometers where visible violet light begins. So probably the UV light here we're seeing is probably all of this purple specks and light that's happening here. But I'm really curious about how this was sort of lit. This is just an absolutely striking image. I don't know that I've ever seen anything quite like it. So very nice work. Here on the left, we have this reddish image is a 550 nanometer. So 550 is going to be infrared light, red light, orange light, and a little bit of yellow light. So those three colors plus infrared. So a very nice long exposure shot here. And then down here on the right, a 590 nanometer shot, which looks kind of like it's either been desaturated into a bit of a sepia tone. So you can still see a little bit of color standing out in these trees, but otherwise it's kind of, it's either been converted to monochrome and then added a color grade to it, or it's been desaturated and color graded. It's these sort of striking lines that you get from the bridge and the lines from the clouds and the long exposure kind of creating these different angles. Very nice shot. Next up is the portrait section. And these could be visible light or they could be infrared. This first visible light shot is just very striking to me. You've got the focus on this one eye, the other eye's blocked out, and then all of the dirt, the dust, and the lack of focus here just makes for a very, very striking image. This next one, I'm going to have to zoom out a bit here to really get it because it's a very vertical composition here, but it's a really striking image, so it's worth taking it all in. The vertical nature of it allows you to catch both the reflection and then we can see some of these colors. This is an IRchrome shot, so you're going to get those blue colors from the sky right away and then a slice of infrared and red to color some of the rest of the portions of this image. So very beautiful portrait here. This is just an amazing job of sort of subject isolation and lighting to get this amazing subject and isolate it. So very nice portrait here. And let me zoom into our honorable mentions. So we have an infrared shot down here on the left, and then a 720 nanometer shot. So that's going to be a little bit of color converted to black and white, which is definitely very striking for this image. Down here on the left, we've got a 720 nanometer shot. I will say that if you ever said the words to me, infrared and tattoo, then Tim Weaver's going to be the first person that I think of. Very striking collection in his Instagram of portraits using infrared and subjects with great tattoos. Boy, this is an impressive shot. I mean, if you look at the lighting here, the lighting coming in and what it's doing, you've got this great subject isolation on the left. This individual has got great light coming in, but not only that, he's very isolated from the background, which is very dark. And then you've got this strong light coming in and these bold colors here. This is just an amazing shot with really great lighting. So down into the last category here is the Kolari Pocket category. This category is for the Kolari Vision's Kolari Pocket camera, which is basically a Canon point-and-shoot camera that has been converted to full spectrum. And then once it's converted, you can get a collection of filters that come with this camera to do all different kind of styles of infrared. And so it gives you a great amount of flexibility in all the different styles of infrared at a very low cost. Now, the images are not going to be the most, the sharpest, the highest resolution, et cetera. If you look at this image, it's a little soft. It's worth it for the flexibility that you get out of this camera and all of the filters to be able to, first of all, the size and be able to carry it with you, but also the flexibility of trying all of these different styles. So if you're new to infrared, the Kolari Pocket's a great way to get started and learn about infrared and learn about all the different styles before maybe you invest more money in converting a more expensive camera. So this is a shot that I took when I was out hiking in the hills looking for good shots for this camera, and I just found this very striking image off in the distance with this great line of clouds that really kind of capped this. It kind of, to me, looked like a sort of a two-dimensional painting in the way that it played out, so I was very happy with how this turned out. Down here, I'm going to have to zoom out a little bit here. We've got a very nice sort of S-curve running through this shot. Not only do you have these great lines with the road and the dotted lines, the road lines really pop out. A lot of times in infrared, we're focusing more on the foliage, the organic material, by making it colorful. And in this shot, this actually helps to sort of diminish it and put the focus, makes the road the subject and makes the road really stand out. This deep, dark road really stand out against the background. And this is a 720, so you've got the blue sky and some white foliage, but I really love how it allowed the road to stand out. Got another, let me zoom in a bit, another landscape here with the Kolari Pocket. So this is, I love how in this image the organic material almost hugs the shot, kind of wraps around the city. You've got it wrapping around and then interspersed within the city itself. And then down here in the honorable mentions, got a 720 nanometer image with some really great lines, some great symmetry throughout the image. Over here on the right, a 590 nanometer image with this very striking tree subject, very beautiful. Down here on the left, a 720 nanometer image. I'm actually really impressed at the amount of color that came out of this image. I don't normally see this. To me, this almost looks like a 590 nanometer image because you've got so much color, but a very nice image nonetheless. And then another image that I shot where I was very fortunate to kind of get this cloud formation moving over the hill to help create a nice composition here. So those are all the winners from the Kolari Vision second annual Life in Another Light photo contest. Be sure to check out the essay winners and check out all the Instagram links in the description below. If you find these videos helpful on your infrared journey, please consider liking, subscribing, or leaving a comment. Do you have any topics related to infrared photography that you'd like to see addressed? Leave a comment below. Hope you enjoyed. Thanks.